This is The Big Picture, an official television report of the United States Army, produced for the armed forces and the American people. Now, to show you part of the big picture, here is Master Sergeant Stuart Queen.
Since World War II, it has become increasingly apparent to the free world that its men and nations, in order to remain free, must be constantly able to explain liberty and freedom. The challenge of the present communist threat to the freedom of individuals and nations must be met by dynamic action. The communists have made amazing gains to date because they know what they believe, why they believe it, and can explain it to people anywhere in understandable terms. On the other hand, we as a free people who believe in the true form of liberty have many times been incoherent and lack the verbal ability to explain or defend completely what liberty is. In the city of Ottumwa in Iowa, we believe we have found a living example of everything we, the American people, stand for.
At the crossroads of the nation in southeast Iowa lies the city of Ottumwa. It might be your town, or any town, USA. For here in this typical hometown, just being itself, can be found that intangible substance which we call our American way of life. It is a substance which lives in the people themselves, each of whom in his own way contributes to its growth. All the people of all walks. Among them, making his own special contribution, is Sergeant Wallace Bacon. Just as he has done for several years now, Sergeant Bacon, the Army recruiter for Ottumwa and surrounding districts, leaves his office in the federal building for an appointment with a boy and a problem. To the people of Ottumwa, Sergeant Bacon's car is a familiar sight as it travels the streets and country lanes on its military mission. For Sergeant Bacon is in this community a friend, as well as a symbol of an obligation which at some time must touch the lives of all of us.
I know the farms that lie outside Ottumwa, as well as I know the city streets. I've been visiting them for years, on just such an errand as this trip to the farm where Gerald Brunk lives, a few miles outside town. I know the mothers of Ottumwa, women like Mrs. Brunk, who look forward to my visits with their sons with perhaps a little more apprehension than the boys themselves have. For all mothers everywhere find it just a little sad to realize their sons are growing up to accept men's burdens. But however difficult it might be, Mrs. Brunk, like all Ottumwa's mothers, knows the meaning of words like duty and patriotism. They are often enough my allies in my job of advising their sons on the nature of the duty that lies ahead of them. Before he called and asked me to drop by and visit with him, I had never talked to Gerald Brunk, so I knew little about him. But I did know from our short phone conversation that he was of military age and was wondering what to do about his military service. Meeting him out there in the fields, the Army seemed far away. And yet, I knew that right now it was the biggest thing on Gerald's mind. When would he have to go? Where would he be sent for training? He had a score of questions, and I had to help him find the answers. Coming to grips with such urgent questions is easier when you take time to get acquainted first. We discussed the crop prospects and town news for a while, and then we got down to his problem. Facing Gerald was a difficult decision, whether to wait for the draft to call him or enlist now and plan his military duty so that it would interfere as little as possible with his future. It's not an easy choice for any young man to make. It is not easy for Gerald, or for any young man like him, to understand why his life in this time of peace must be interrupted by military service. The countryside offered a symbolic backdrop for our discussion. For we were talking about Gerald's duty and his future within the very sight of the things in his life that were important to him. His farm, his family. It was up to Gerald to understand that just as his father did when he was a young man, he too must now help protect all of this. These familiar fundamentals which literally constitute his way of life. Like most of us, Gerald takes his way of life pretty much for granted. His big problem is building up a prize herd of Suffolk sheep and learning all he can about farming. Farm work and chores go on in a pleasant routine, and there's little to disturb his plans. On Saturdays, he helps his father take the livestock to the sales barn in Ottumwa, just as he has done ever since he was old enough to climb up into the family truck.